everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into some classic philosophy.
Always a good time.
It is
Yeah.
always a good time. We're taking a look at Plato's Cratylus dialogue, and we're asking that age-old question about language. You know, do names have a natural correctness? Are
Right.
they just labels we've kind of all agreed on? Like, I'm like, that thing is a
Yeah.
table, so we all call it a table.
Yeah, it's a really fundamental question. It gets to the heart of how we understand the world. Like, if names are somehow linked to, like, the essence of things, then language starts to look like this
Yeah.
incredibly powerful tool,
Yeah.
right? It's like a key to unlock some deeper truth about reality.
Right. Almost like magic, you know,
Yeah.
the name has power.
Exactly.
So in the dialogue, we've got these two characters. We've got Hermogenes, right, and Cratylus, and they're going back and forth. And Hermogenes is kind of the practical guy. He's like, look, names are just these conventions. It's just what we all decided to call stuff. Like, we call this thing a dog.
Right.
And, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he even uses the example of renaming slaves, right?
Oh,
If
interesting.
you could just change somebody's name
Right.
without changing their essence, well, then the name can't be fundamentally tied to that essence.
Right. It's arbitrary.
Yeah.
And then you've got Cratylus, who's like, no, there's like this
Right.
natural correctness, but he's cryptic about it.
Yeah, he doesn't really explain how it works.
So then Socrates comes in, like he often does.
Of course. Yeah.
Our, intrepid philosopher. He comes in to kind of mediate. And as usual, he doesn't really give us any answers up front. He just starts asking these questions.
Yeah, he loves to use his method of questioning,
Yeah.
right, to kind of guide the conversation, challenge their assumptions,
Yeah.
push them to think more deeply.
So he starts with Hermogenes, and he's like, okay, let's agree on something basic. There's a difference between true and false statements, right?
Right.
The sky is blue.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Dogs can fly. Not so much.
Not true.
And then Socrates takes it to this other level.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, but wait, names are part of these statements.
Right.
They're like the building blocks
Yeah.
of meaning. So if statements can be true or false, and names are part of those statements, doesn't that mean that names themselves can also be true or false?
That's the implication.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So a true name should somehow reflect the essence
Right.
of the thing it's naming.
So then the question becomes, who gets to decide what those true names are?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who's the authority?
He gets to be the
master namer, the name maker.
Yeah.
And this is where Socrates introduces this really cool idea
Okay.
of the legislator, right? Like, imagine a really skilled craftsperson,
Okay.
a carpenter. They make tools for specific purposes, right?
Yeah.
A shuttle or an awl. They're designed
Yeah.
to function in a certain way.
Yeah.
He's saying, in the same way, a skilled legislator should be giving names
Okay.
that reflect the true nature of things.
Wow. So the act of naming isn't just random.
No.
It's almost like a craft.
It's an art, yeah.
Almost like you're creating a map of reality.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Right, to give things the right names. And Socrates even suggests that this legislator, whoever they are, should be guided by a dialectician.
Okay. Now, what's a dialectician?
That's someone who is really skilled in questioning and analyzing arguments.
So it's almost like they work together to make sure these names...
Yeah, they're like a team.
Yeah.
Right? The legislator's coming up with the names, and the dialectician is making sure they're accurate, they really fit.
So does Socrates ever actually, prove that names have this natural correctness?
Well, he admits he can't really demonstrate it
Okay.
on his own. So what does he do? He turns to Homer.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Of course.
The poet.
Classic move.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, let's see what this ancient Greek poet can teach us about the power of names.
Yeah.
So he points out that in Homer's works, you often have the gods and humans using different names for the same things. Like, for example, there's this river in Troy, right?
Okay.
The gods call it Xanthus, but the humans call it Scamander.
Oh, wow. So even in these, ancient stories, they were already exploring this idea that names hold power.
Yeah, like there's something more to a name than just a label.
Yeah.
And this difference in naming, it kind of hints at like a hierarchy of knowledge, right?
Okay.
The gods, with their deeper understanding, they use a name that maybe is a little more accurate,
Right.
a little closer to the truth.
Right. So what other examples does Socrates use?
Well, he also looks at the names of Hector's son. You know, in the Iliad, he's called both Astyanax and Scamandrius.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Socrates analyzes this and tries to figure out, why would Homer consider Astyanax, which means king of the city, to be a more fitting name than Scamandrius?
So again, it goes back to the name reflecting the true essence of the person.
The essence of the person. And in this case, Astyanax really aligns with the boy's destiny, right? He's the one who defends the city after his father's death. So the name kind of foreshadows his fate.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's like the name
Yeah.
has this kind of almost like a prophetic quality.
Right. Okay, so we've kind of established that names ideally
Yeah.
should reflect this essence of things. But how do we actually figure out what a true name is? Like, is there a method, a way to crack the code?
That's a great question. And that's where we're going to leave it for today.
Oh,
We're
man.
going to pick it up next time.
Okay, so make sure you join us
Tune in next time
for part 2
when we delve into Socrates.
of our deep dive into
Yes,
Cratylus.
absolutely.
All right, looking forward to it.
See you then.
Okay, so last time we kind of left off
We did.
with this cliffhanger. How do we figure out
Yeah.
what a true name is? And you were going to tell us.
Yeah, we were starting to get into this idea of primary and secondary names, right?
Right.
Socrates thinks this is like a really important distinction
Okay.
to understand
Oh,
how
very-
language works.
Okay.
And the idea is that secondary names, these are like the names we use for like, everyday stuff, everyday objects, everyday concepts. Those names,
Okay.
they get their meaning from the primary names.
So it's like the primary names are like the roots of a tree.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
like the roots. And then the secondary names are kind of like the branches and the leaves
Okay.
coming off of those roots.
Okay. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And what's your special about these primary names?
Well, because they're like the foundation, right?
Yeah.
The basis, Socrates believes that they must directly imitate the essence of things.
Okay, now hold on a second.
Yeah.
How can a word imitate the essence of something? Like the word can't literally like morph in the object, right?
Right. It can't like physically transform.
Okay.
He uses this really interesting example. He says, okay, think about how deaf and dumb people communicate,
Okay.
right? They use bodily gestures.
Right.
They'll like imitate the shape of something
Right.
or an action.
Right, to convey the meaning.
Get the meaning across.
Yeah.
He's saying in a similar way, instead of using our hands,
Right.
we use sounds.
Right.
So instead of like making a gesture of a bird flying, you would say the word bird. And somehow that sound is capturing
Right.
something of the essence of flight. you know?
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see
Yeah.
where he's going with that.
But it goes even further than that because he argues that these sounds,
Yeah.
these letters, they can imitate not just like physical qualities,
Okay.
like the, moo of a cow or like the crash of thunder,
Okay.
but also the essence of like more abstract concepts.
So like certain sounds evoke
Yeah.
certain ideas.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
think about even in our modern language,
Yeah.
words like slither or crash.
Right.
Those words kind of embody the actions they describe, right?
There is kind of an intuitiveness to that.
Right. There's like a
Right.
a natural fit.
What about like more abstract concepts? How do you imitate
Right.
the essence of like justice?
That's where things get really interesting because he proposes this systematic approach to try to figure out
Okay.
the natural correctness of different letters
Okay.
and their combinations. So he's talking about like syllables,
Okay.
words, and then ultimately language itself.
So it's like we're almost analyzing language
Yeah.
down to its smallest parts.
He's like, we need to break it down,
Yeah.
look at the smallest parts,
Yeah.
and see how those parts
Yeah.
reflect reality. And he even compares it to music. He says just like different sounds and rhythms
Okay.
in music create different effects. We can analyze letters and syllables
Right.
to see how they convey meaning.
I never thought of it like that. It's like
Yeah.
each word is a little
Yeah.
polyphony.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
And while he doesn't claim to have like all the answers,
Right.
he wants us to at least start exploring these connections between sound and meaning,
Yeah.
to look for these little echoes of essence within language itself.
That's fascinating. So it's not just a tool
Yeah.
for communication. It's almost like a way of understanding
Yeah,
the world around us.
Yeah.
But with all this deep thinking.
yeah,
Socrates also, he knows the limits, right?
he does. He does.
Of human understanding.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to language.
Right. He's not going to claim to have like
Right.
all the answers figured out.
So.
And he cautions us against like easy explanations.
Oh, okay. What kind of easy explanations?
Well, like for instance, just attributing the creation of language to the gods.
Oh, right.
Or to, some ancient culture.
Yeah.
He sees that as kind of a cop-out.
Right.
It's like an excuse not to do the hard work
right.
of really grappling with this mystery.
So even he
Yeah,
admits there's this element of
mystery there.
the unknowable.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So just to recap,
Yeah.
we've explored this idea that names, ideally, should reflect the essence of things.
Mhm.
These primary names, they're like the building blocks.
Yeah.
Right? That directly imitate reality.
Yeah, like those fundamental elements.
And we did a little crash course in etymology,
Right,
looking at how a word's origins can give us clues.
right, those hidden connections.
Yeah. But even though we know there are challenges, we know that, language changes, and
Yeah.
we don't always know
Yeah.
the true meaning of a word.
Right, but it's still worth exploring. Right.
Socrates telling us.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah, keep digging, keep searching for these insights. Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, next time we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to see Socrates actually trying to analyze the correctness of names.
Okay, so buckle up, everybody.
Get ready for some wordplay.
This is going to be fun.
This is where it gets really fun.
Welcome back to the show.
Back for more linguistic adventures.
That's right, we're wrapping up our deep dive into Plato's Cratylus.
Where we've been on this quest to figure out...
Yeah, are names just arbitrary labels?
Right, just like tags we put on things.
Or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah, like do they actually connect to the true nature of things?
It's been a wild ride.
It has been a lot to think about.
So, does Socrates give us any answers?
Well, he definitely tries.
Okay.
Remember how he said he couldn't really demonstrate the natural correctness of names himself?
Yeah, he was like, hey, I'm not a linguist, but...
Right, exactly.
Let's give it a shot.
So he jumps right in and starts analyzing some basic words.
Okay.
He starts with words related to motion.
Oh, interesting.
And he identifies this one letter,
Okay.
the letter R,
Okay.
as like the key ingredient. He thinks it captures the essence of movement.
So like words like run, flow.
Yeah.
They get that energy from them.
From that rolling R sound?
Yeah, I can kind of hear
It's like, it's almost like your tongue is doing the movement.
Yeah.
When you say
And
R.
it makes you think about all those words in other languages
Right.
that use R for movement.
There's something kind of universal about it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't stop with R. He analyzes other letters too.
Oh, okay.
He suggests that I represents like subtlety and penetration.
Okay.
And then D and T convey like binding and rest.
Okay.
He even gets into like being slippery
Oh, wow.
and being sticky.
Okay, this isn't...
I know, it's pretty out there.
A little out there.
But remember, he's doing all this with a kind of playful tone.
Right.
Like, he's not saying this is the absolute truth.
Yeah.
It's more like a thought experiment.
Right.
He's pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Seeing how far we can go with this idea.
Yeah.
And he even admits that some of his interpretations are a little ridiculous.
Okay.
He compares himself to a flute player trying to make these awkward sounds.
So he knows he's
self-aware.
stretching it a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And eventually he kind of throws his hands up and says, look, a lot of these original forms of words,
Yeah.
they're lost to time.
Right. Meanings change.
Meanings change. Languages evolve.
Right.
It's impossible to go back and know for sure.
So it's like language itself is kind of
Resisting.
analysis. It's slippery. It's changing.
Right.
It's alive.
Yeah. So we don't really get any definitive answers
No, not really.
about the correctness of names.
But it's okay.
But
it
it gives us a framework.
Yeah, a way to think about it.
Yeah.
How language works.
The connection.
Yeah, how it connects to thought and reality.
It's like he's encouraging us to become word detectives.
Yeah, like little etymologists
Yeah.
to dig into those word origins.
Yeah.
And see what we can find.
And it makes you realize
Yeah.
every word has a story. Every word has a history, a journey.
And it really does shape
It shapes the way we think,
the way we see the world.
the way we understand ourselves.
It's pretty profound.
It really is.
So what's the takeaway for us?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to never take language for granted.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool, and the more we understand it,
Right.
the more we can use it effectively.
It's like we're not just learning about words. We're learning about ourselves.
Yeah, it's about understanding
Yeah.
our place in the world.
Wow. Well, this has been an incredible journey.
It has been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.